if I told you that 2 stoned assembly workers cost BMW $1 million in one day, that a terrorist attack was being planned for the Super Bowl, or that the Pope endorsed Donald Trump? These are all real published headlines, and you might feel inclined to go tell your family, your friends, or your coworkers. But if you did, you'd be spreading lies, because none of these headlines are true. Fake news and misleading headlines are a plague on today's media. I'm going to explain the problem with them, some of the solutions to this problem, what our future will look like once this problem is solved, and what you can do right now to help. I researched this a lot, so I would feel credible to talk to you about it today, and I found that it's up to us to find the truth behind the fake headlines, because the only way to make educated decisions about the world around us is if we know what's real and what's fake. Alright, so here are the 3 headlines I talked about earlier, and now you look at them, they might seem funny because they're so outlandish and don't make any sense, but behind the misleading headlines is an agenda being pushed. If any of you are in favor of marijuana being legalized, the stoned assembly workers is working against you. Aaron Brown from thedrive.com originally wrote this article. And what you can see from the headline is that the assembly workers were also under the influence of amphetamines and alcohol. This is where the problem arises. If a reader reads this headline and goes and tells people, they're spreading false information, and now marijuana has a negative stigma that should not be associated with it because they don't know the whole story. People are influenced subconsciously from fake news and the overload of it. Ben Pankow, who's an author for Smithsonian.com, explains this by saying, a person being overloaded with information is much more susceptible, is much more easy to manipulate. This is much more apparent in the form of political news, such as the New York Times sports Twitter account, which made Trump seem much less popular with the New England Patriots than Obama did, or the Christian Times newspaper article about Clinton having fraudulent voters in Ohio. Both of these are untrue. In the case of the Clinton article, that's a picture of a man in Britain in 2015, not about Hillary Clinton. And in this photo, Trump had half the players sitting down and half standing, and that's why you see all players standing in the Obama one and half of them standing and sitting in the Trump photo. Tom Liberman, who's the author of 11 books, compiled a list to show how widespread this problem is. Many of them you've seen already. The truth is, the media is lying to its readers, and the readers are helping spread it. Fortunately, there are a lot of solutions being planned. A lot of the solutions are large scale though, such as banning websites and filtering the information we see. But the best way to combat this is on the small scale. And the first simplest thing you can do is to read behind a misleading headline. Most of the time, people are too lazy to read past a headline, and that's how most of the fake news is spread. Christina Nagler, who wrote an article for Harvard University students, explains the steps you can take to find out if a news article is fake. The first step is to research the publisher's credibility. Secondly, you should check the quality of the writing. Third, you should check the sources and citations. And if you really need help, you should ask a professional. Despite the large number of fake news, there's no excuse for you to not find the truth behind it, because you can take these simple steps to find out if an article is faked. Now, the benefits to stopping fake news are immense. First of all, it will help people gather information much more effectively. This will mean reporters and media outlets will have to research more effectively because people won't be easily fooled by the lies. More effective reporting will lead to stronger arguments from political opponents. Politicians can rely on the media to help them win votes, so they'll have to actually convince voters with real arguments. These real arguments will hold the election to a higher standard and in turn help our government run more smoothly, all because we stop the spread of fake news. We must start this process now. The simple solution is to read beyond a headline. That's something we can all do right now. It may be difficult to stop this at a large scale because of how widespread this problem is, but individually we can all stop this problem. So the next time you see a misleading headlines, by show of hands, how many of you are going to read past it and use the steps I showed you to try to find out if it's real or not? Now, the misleading headlines I showed you earlier, like the Pope endorsing Donald Trump or 2 stoned assembly workers costing BMW $1 million, may seem funny now, but when the lies are disguised much better, it's up to you to find the truth behind them. Oh, that was the raise the hands part, but yeah, that's it.